Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I'm Shafiu Suleiman. When former Vice President Atiku Abubakar emerged as the flag bearer of the opposition People's Democratic Party, the flag bearer of ruling All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his congratulatory message, described Atiku as a worthy challenger. The show of sportsmanship, however, seems to have taken a dramatic turn. The genesis being the PDP candidate's utterance during his most recent interview, where he said that in 2007 he had rejected the APC flag bearer as his running mate because he was mindful of a same-faith ticket. On the contrary, the APC flag bearer said he never asked to be anyone's running mate and declined when he was approached by the PDP's flag bearer Atiku Abubakar. The word exchange would later deteriorate to name-calling by both camps. To discuss these issues and more, we're joined by Paul Ibe, who is the director of the Atiku Media Office. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Also joining us for the discussion is Jide Ojo, who is a political analyst. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Jide.
Thank you, Malam Shafi.
We also hope to join Shehu Atta, who is the co-convener of Bola Tinubu School to School campaign initiative. He joins us virtually from Zaria. Welcome to the program, gentlemen. Okay, but now we have to take a short break. When we return, the conversation begins. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. On Daily Politics, today we're looking at the personality clash, so to speak, between the APC flag bearer and the PDP presidential flag bearer, Atiku Abubakar, in the build-up to 2023 election. And we have in the studio, just like I said, Mr. Paul Ibe, who is a director, Atiku Media Office, and Mr. Jide Ojo, and also joining us by Skype, Shehu Atta. Let me go straight to Mr. Jide Ojo. I'm sure you've been following this development. It started like a joke. At some point they throw banters and what have you. But then it climaxed, with the interview the PDP flag bearer had recently, where he talked about the 2007 and how he declined to accept what he called Muslim ticket as he said the APC flag bearer then wanted him to accept. And then there was also a reaction from the other side of the divide, also saying that the PDP flag bearer is economical with the truth somehow, that that wasn't what transpired. But coming at this time, what do you make up of this personality clash or throwing of tantrums, so some would say?
Thank you very much, Sheffield. Good evening, Nigerians. First and foremost, we should know that this is the season. Mm-hmm. And it comes with the season. It's like when you have a mango, orange, or tomato season.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Every political season comes with this kind of expose, if I can put it that way. I think the two gentlemen, I see it as just mere politicking. It's just about politicking. Most of what they are trying to say about each other are what transpired Nicodemously. Permit my use of that word. It's behind the scene.
That's right.
So when you are not there and
you cannot say precisely.
You cannot say precisely. So it's like a marriage. Usually the usual disputes in marriage. Sometimes when you want to have carnal knowledge of your wife and she denies, and maybe a fight ensues, and neighbors come around. Both sides will not want to say what led to the fight, because because they feel it's humiliating. But the truth has to be said that I think we should not just eat up the politics. Muslim, Christian, Muslim is just one of those things that the political gladiators are trying to lash onto in order to gain undue advantage. And that is why, you see even people who would have jumped at such opportunities now demonizing it because it doesn't really favor them now. Yeah. But you also recall that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu did say in Ogun State, if you recall, where Emilokan and Olule, slangs emanated from. That was shortly before, I think, few days to the primaries of APC, where he said, look, he was approached by the incumbent president in 2015 to be his running mate. And when that happened, Saraki, then in APC, said, look, you cannot have a Muslim ticket. That he admitted, and Asiwaju admitted that Saraki threw spanner in his will then, that the president asked him to be his running mate. So the presidency hasn't come out to debunk that offer was ever made.
Yeah. Even though some also, the presidency will also tell you that it is President Muhammadu Buhari that kick against it, that he can go with a same faith ticket and what have you.
What Asiwaju said himself was that it was Saraki that kicked against it. Meanwhile, Saraki, even Saraki that kicked against it was already high president of the Senate at that time, and he knew if they fly Muslim tickets, that will work against his own interest, because as number 3, they will not want to gamble with not having a Christian. Yeah. If the first 2 slots have been picked by Muslims, they thought...
So in a way, he might also be doing it in his own interest.
Yeah, he was actually doing it to his own advantage. Right. And people have asked me, why was Muslim ticket wrong in 2015, but right in 2022? And I simply tell them, in 2014, 2015, APC was in opposition trying to gain power. And it will have been very difficult to sell a Muslim ticket. But now they are in power with 22 governors, on their side.
So and they are comfortable.
They felt that the power of incumbency is to their advantage. So by and large, I think we should see the contestation as part of the politicking to outwit, and possibly gain political advantage ahead of 2023.
Okay, Mr. Paul Ibe, looking at because bottom line is the same faith ticket. The PDP and your principal have been lashing on, have been taking, advantage of this situation, some will say. Some say even crying more than the bereaved, so to speak. Why the obsession, around this same faith ticket and leading to all of this altercation?
I don't think we're fixated about, the APC is, and any other political party for that matter, is free. They can play with whatever configuration. The media is making a mountain out of a molehill, and that was not the only issue, in the Rise TV. There were so many.
Yeah, there are a number of issues. We'll talk about
so many of them. And
yes.
But the media, decided to dwell, on this particular one. Like I said, APC is free to choose whatever configuration, and whatever configuration you elect to run with, has consequences. It has political, it has electoral consequences. So it's up to them, and they have made their choice, and they have to, live with it. But it's not even about, the choice that they make, whether it is Christian or Muslim. No, that's not what it is about. Whatever choice that they make, and whoever it is, has to own the 7 years of the failed APC policy. This is what this is all about. whoever.
But you're not talking about
Muslim, Christian,
you are
Christian.
more concentrating on, the ticket. Some say perhaps the choice of Kashim Shettima unsettles your camp somehow. You didn't expect such, such a combination. You thought maybe it could have been lesser, than someone like Kashim Shettima. You felt threatened, somehow about your chances in the north.
What I said now, I say for Kashim Shettima or anybody, whoever it is, has to live with. And like they say on social media, they have to own it with their full chest. Whoever it is. It's not about the individual. It's about the reality of the 7 years of the APC administration and what they've been able to make of it. So whoever it is that the party is pushing forward has to own all of that. I mean, we know what it is. I mean, you don't accept, you haven't been in this country in the last 7 years. Everybody is abreast with what the realities of the 7 years of the APC has been.
Right. Well, before we come back to the realities and how they emerge, because some will say they didn't emerge just in today or in the last 7 years. We'll talk about that. But then, looking at the season and the politicians with their, comments and statements to outreach each other and what have you, the APC camp is also accusing Atiku Abubakar of, like not putting the record straight, that at some point the same Atiku Abubakar was also pushing for a Muslim ticket when he sought to be the running mate, to then let MKO Abiola. And even in 2007, as Tinubu said, it was the same Atiku that had wanted him to be his running mate, but he declined, sort of. So who do we believe here? And then they're also talking about desperation, to demarcate or to become president at all costs, not minding the morale, not necessarily looking at, how people are going to react to some of those statements.
Like I said in my prefatory remarks, this is politics. It's the season of politics. This is just the beginning. Campaign has not even started officially. So we will see many more dirty things, unpredictable things, the marketing strategies that will happen. And like I said at the initial, no one was there with them in 1992 during the Just Convention as to know what actually transpired behind the scene. Abiola is no longer alive to be able to corroborate or debunk what transpired, whether and mark you, even if that happens, is there any law that says you should not lobby? There is no law broken, and it's just I see this as a needless distraction because it is part of politics to lobby. If you don't lobby, sometimes you don't get what you deserve. You get only what you want and what you go for. And that's why politicians that knows that they cannot even be president will throw their hands into the ring, stake 100 million naira to go and contest an election that they know they cannot win. It's about lobbying, but they know that, look, they will not get the presidency, but if their party is lucky enough to produce the next president, maybe they will be in a poor position to be considered as minister. Maybe they will be in a poor position to even be compensated in any other way. So politicians use different strategies. This is just testing waters. What happened in 92? What happened in 2007? All of that in the past. We are in the present. So, and I'm not sure that, like my brother here has said, you live with the consequences of your actions. And left to me, if Atiku Abubakar is calling Ashwaju names, they are birds of a feather.
We'll come to that. They share a lot of similarities.
Listen, the difference between the two of them is that you find between 6 and half a dozen. Both of them are septuagenarian, they are in their 70s. Both of them knew that this is the end of the road. After this attempt, if either of them doesn't get to be elected president, maybe the head. And you know, I think this is just, and Atiku Abubakar was very fortunate. In 1999, he recalled that he wanted to be governor of Andama State.
He was already elected governor.
No, he wanted to be governor, and he was a governor-elect before
he was nominated.
He was now, this is one he didn't even lobby for. So to speak, we may say he didn't lobby for it, but he got chosen over and above every other person, and he served in that government for 8 years. So I don't want us to dwell too much on these altercations and these brickbats that's being thrown. This is what
We're just laying the background anyway.
Let's deal with the issue. Issue-based campaign is what we should post.
Talking about issue-based campaign and the needless distraction, just like Mr. Jide has said, you know, some say perhaps it's a deliberate attempt by these two gladiators. You know, the fact that they share a lot of similarities. You know, we all know. Even the political route, you know, the dynasty they came from happened to be that of late Shehu Musa Yar'Adua and what have you. And today they have to slug it out among themselves. Some say it was sort of, you know, a gimmick by them to distract people away from the issues. Why are you not discussing issues, rather talking about personalities? Mr. Paul.
He just told you the campaign has not even started.
So
you have to, I mean, you are walking a very thin line. We haven't started the campaign, and what we're having now is
pre-campaign issues.
You know, what the Waziri said was even in passing. Like I said, that wasn't the most important of all of the things that he dropped, in the course of that interview. And, you know, the Waziri was not the first person to speak to that particular issue. Don't forget that the Consul General of the United States, Brian Brown, had, via the WikiLeaks, report, exposed what transpired. What you say behind the curtain. We were not there, but those were the reports, the intelligence reports that they had, based on the report that he had passed, back home, that got leaked, and it was there. So it has been there. It's in the public domain. And the Waziri saying it was not the first time. Waziri was trying to reinforce, his own vision, for Nigeria, which is of one people, one future, and one country. And to achieve that, you need to run an inclusive, government. You need to bring everybody on board. And he was trying to show the consistency, how he has been consistent over the years in ensuring that whatever decision, whatever actions that he takes, that he has a larger Nigeria, at play.
Well, that is also contestable, because, what the other camp is saying is that it's more like, the kettle calling the pot black, the pot, calling kettle black, so to speak. Because if he is actually accusing the APC camp of, parading same-fit ticket, he is also accused of, spearheading a movement, that led to the jettisoning of the zoning or rotation arrangement, which ought to bring a candidate from the southern part of the country. So either way, both parties are culpable when it comes to jettisoning arrangements and also not minding sensibilities, either religious or sectional or or regional sensibilities. How would you respond to that?
If you are an Iroko tree, you can't even, no matter how big you are, you can't even be a forest. Atiku Abubakar is an individual. He's one politician in the PDP. And the issue you spoke to about, about zoning or whatever, was an issue that was, dealt with by all organs of the party, right from the lowest to the highest, the National Executive Committee. And the neck of the party took a decision that it wasn't about Atiku Abubakar.
It's about winning, which led to
no.
the throwing the contest open.
It's about democracy.
It's
about democracy at work. It's about democracy at work. That was what played out in the PDP. Everybody had everybody had their say, and at the end, the party took a position. That position, Atiku may have benefited from it, but it wasn't an Atiku position. I mean, make no mistake about it. Before we begin to, as journalists, we capture history in a hurry, and there's a tendency to to begin to malign. It wasn't his decision; it was the decision of the party that threw the contest open. The contest open,
and he emerged against the interests of the southern interests, so to speak. Okay, let's join Shewata, who is joining us via Zoom, to get his perspective. Shewata, if you're there, your principal, talking about Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is the man, that is at the center of all of this. And even though your camp has reacted somehow, to this statements made by Atiku Abubakar, how are you looking at this, clash, so to speak, of these two personalities?
Sagir, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Very clear.
Yeah, good evening, Sagir and Mr. Jide Ogyo and the other fellow from the Atiku's camp. This is interesting time. It's a very interesting time, and at the end of the day, Nigerians, like he said, Nigerians are going to decide. You don't begin to call a kettle black. An arrangement that would take an entire about three regions of the country out of governance for another 8 years. How do you judge that kind of arrangement? You get. Now, we're talking about APC, that is a progressive party who will be going into election in 2023. We're going to test another hypothesis again. In our progressive manner, in our progressive outlook, we're going to test another hypothesis again. That a Muslim, individuals with competence, individuals with track records, individuals with history of performance will come and lead this country again, and they will set a record.
It is not yet time for campaign, mind you, Shehu Atta. It is not time for campaign. Let's speak to the issues. We're talking about, this contestation, so personality sort of clash, not about.
Yes, again, I'm just trying to lay a basis for my argument. The basis I'm trying to lay for my argument is that an article cannot be discussing about a Muslim ticket, whereas you are coming from the north with full awareness that a president that will be concluding a tenure in the next 6 months or 8 months, is coming from the northern part of the country, which is even better than looking at the party presenting a candidate from the south, or you trying to come in on a platform to follow on the footsteps of a president that just concluded, that will be concluding a tenure after 8 years. So Nigerians, like you said, are going to decide, and we are hopeful that what Nigerians will be looking at is competence, credibility,
yes,
and history of performance.
Shewata, there's one critical challenge that was thrown at your principal, during that interview. I'm sure Nigerians will be waiting to see how your camp will respond to that. The fact that he should subject himself, to a 1-hour rigorous interview like the Waziri did. When are we going to see your principal, taking up this challenge?
Sergey, I'm sure you follow. Thank you for that question, because as far as we are concerned, this is not supposed to be a concern to Nigeria at the first instance, because this has been proven, and the capacity, the energy, or the physical strength of our candidate has been proven, and we have seen. I'm sure you watched the last convention of the APC. If you followed on the TV, or if you are at the Eagle Square, Asiwaju was there from 9 p.m. and he just went on a little bit of a recess for about 2-3 hours, and he came back, and he was there till the following day. Asiwaju was at our convention ground till the following day. And on his acceptance speech, Asiwaju stood on his feet. He stood on his feet and he delivered a speech of well over an hour. So how will you not bring an issue as attending to an hour interview as something we should make substance out of?
Okay, we'll get back to you, Shewata. Coming back to the studio, Mr. Jide, yeah, let's talk about issues now. In that interview, it is not just about the reaction of the APC camp, also has to do with the substance of the interview. They talked about a number of issues raised by the Atiku Abubakar regarding how he, combined his official work with, his own personal running, so to speak. Business. They also talked about some of the figures, he dished out, especially with regards to the number of police, security personnel in is it Egypt or so, and what is obtainable. They also talked about his understanding of international politics, especially his reference to the Lincoln, presidency, which he said, he ran like for 5 to 6 times, and then the APC camp is saying it's just 2 times and whatever. So looking at the the content of that interview and the substance of the interview, do you think there are issues, that should be, that the APC should capitalize on?
Of course, there will always be, and some of them you have mentioned. The issue of while he was serving in Idiroko, he was running private business, transport business, and all of that.
Yeah, which is against the
civil service rule. The only thing you are allowed to do is to farm. So for him to have purchase of 5 vehicles, giving it to drivers and although we know, even up to today, many civil servants do it, but the rule is don't be caught. But for somebody to have openly admitted to doing that while he's an officer of the Federal Republic, and people will read minutes that maybe he was even involved in smuggling. If you say you are doing transportation of human beings and cargoes between Nigeria and other West African countries. But you see, I still maintain it's not yet time for politics. That one, and it's a recorded interview anyway, so a lot of things will have even been edited out, possibly.
Nothing was edited.
But I said possibly. I'm not saying we know
absolutely nothing.
You react to
but what I'm saying is that it wasn't a live transmission, it was recorded. And when you go for recorded interview, there is a purpose for that, it's not, I've worked in Arise for 3 years. I was an analyst with Arise News for 3 years, from 2017 to 2020. So it's not like I don't know what the rules are,
but they might have just choose to record it.
No, I agree. I'm not saying, but if you look at what has come out in CNN with this January 6th inquiry into what happened in U.S., during that siege on the Capitol. Just a few days ago, CNN reported that there were a lot of outtakes when Donald Trump was trying to prepare a speech to see how he could quell the riot. So,
it is done to manage
those things are now coming out where he was taking some words out and saying, no, don't use that. And no. But by and large, that is not even the substance of the issue. So whether anything was edited is permitted. I mean, no law has been broken about that. But what I'm saying is that back to your question, whether APC can capitalize. You know, there have been even wide range of reactions have been coming up, even from the camp of Peter Obi about certain things he said about the campaign organizations and all of that, and other reactions have also followed. There is nothing a politician will say that will not generate reactions, whether positive or negative, because again, we are in the season of politics, and people will capitalize, even for seemingly innocuous statement that you may make. Some people will capitalize on this. I mean, I've seen people say of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu that he could not even hold the flag.
And here is Atiku. Also telling us that he stood all the night, you know.
and people are even saying that during the time he was reading his speech, his hands was shaking. And he could not. So people will capitalize on trivial things, on innocuous things, on things that shouldn't matter, because it's the season of politics. And this is about the mind, getting the mind of the electorate. So different things will be true. In fact, what you said 15, 20 years ago will be dug out and then could be used against you.
That's right.
So it's one of those things that happen in politics.
Yeah, it's about time we take a break. But when we return, perhaps Mr. Paul Ibe will also, react to that same question, because I've seen some of your reactions with regard to the issues raised, but we'll also hear from you, because there are also new issues that were thrown up, but then we have to take a break. In case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics. We're looking at the personality clash between the presidential candidates of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, ahead of 2023. And I've been interfacing with Paul Ibe, who is a director in the Atiku Media office, and of course Mr. Jide Ojo, a political analyst. Elsewhere, we're joined by Shewata via Zoom, who is also a co-convener of the Tinubu School to School initiative. We'll take a break. When we return, the discussion continues. Stay with us.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Thank you for staying with us. on daily politics, and today our talking point is the personality clash between two major contenders, talking about presidential candidates of the two dominant political parties in Nigeria, the PDP and the APC. And in the studio we have Paul Ibe, is the Director, Media Office of Atiku Abubakar, and Jide Ojo, a political analyst. Elsewhere we have Shehu Atta, who's joined us by Zoom to also contribute to the discussions. Mr. Paul Ibe, looking at the content of that interview, which is subject of controversy, I talked about some of the issues raised by the APC. Again, they were also looking at preparedness or otherwise of your principal, to lead the country, where they said, he's yet to even understand the contribution of our GDP and what our current GDP at the moment. He was talking about Nigeria's oil sector contributing 20% of the GDP, and the APC is saying that it is less than 10%. Was it that the interview was not properly prepared for, or is it that there's a slip of tongue, or is it about mischief by the APC?
Well, maybe. That was the operating word. Maybe.
Maybe what?
That was what Waziri said.
Oh, okay, that's right. So he wasn't specific.
Which figures, can we even run with in this country that is not subject to controversy? The Bureau of Statistics has a different figure. The operators in the sector have a different figure, and between 15 and 20%, 10% Bureau of Statistics, and that was why the Waziri said maybe. And what does maybe suggest to those who, the owners of the Queen's English, who are trying to educate, the rest of us?
So, in other words, the APC is just making issues out of nothing. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you are saying that.
Okay, I thought you said, it's immaterial.
No, I just told you what the Waziri said. He used the word maybe.
Okay.
And what does that suggest to anybody who...
So it is not about lack of, understanding the current, standing of the political indices, economic indices and so on.
The Waziri has been an operator. He's been involved, in the economy, running it as a private, business person, as somebody who, when he was in government, and since he left government, he's been running his businesses. So there are few things that he doesn't, that he's not abreast with. He understands what the issues, are. Okay. And like I said, that was why he wanted to run away from the controversy and use the word maybe.
Right. There was also a backlash, so to speak, from the camp of the Labour Party, who sees, that interview as also demarketing their candidate, saying that, he cannot make any inroad or impact, looking at the current standings. That's just only popular, in a section of the country and so on. Why does the principal have to resort to this? Some say he took advantage of that interview to virtually demarcate every opponent.
Because the principal is also involved. He's engaged in the social media. He's also involved in it. He follows, his Twitter handle, his Facebook handle. So he understands exactly what the issues are. And he knows that it is not the way it is on social media. It's not the same way it is in reality. He knows that. As practitioners, communicators, we know that ourselves. That the people who vote on social media, online, are not necessarily those who go to cast their votes on election day.
But some say this time around the postulation may change, looking at the movement, the fact that youths are also taking up the challenge of participating actively in the politics. But then coming back to you, Mr. Jide Ojo, some say these two gladiators, two contenders, the presidential candidates of the two parties, have a lot of baggages, that they should be, focused. They should focus on trying to perhaps educate Nigerians or, explain to Nigerians issues surrounding this. For instance, both of them are having baggages around their emergence in the first place against those permutations that I talked about earlier, against regional and religious, sensibilities. And two, their source of income, has also been a subject of concern to Nigerians, both of them. That's why I said they share a lot of similarities.
Yeah,
Again, they are also going by the statement of one of the elder statesmen, both of them have been part of the system that bring Nigeria to this state where we are. So, to him, they have nothing to offer. They perhaps almost expect them to speak to these issues, why Nigerians should give them a chance. Even though we didn't get to the campaign issues first, but then these are fundamental issues that are being brought forward. Do you see them as being bothered about these positions?
If they are, they won't wear it on their faces. They have very robust legal team in place. And of course, a lot of litigations are flying right, left, and center about some of the candidates that have emerged. In fact, I think I read somewhere today that INEC is saying that there are about 300 plus litigations around party primaries generally, not against any of the two candidates. But even over this issue of Muslim tickets, some lawyers have gone to court. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Some lawyers have gone to court, and so some have gone to court over forgery allegations against Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So the court will have its hands full. And Atiku Abubakar, even in 2019, I recall that almost till the election period, there were still litigations about his nationality.
Even after, I think one is still,
yes,
still running.
About his nationality. Yes. Some are claiming that he's a Cameroonian, because at the time he was born, his part of the country was under Cameroon and all of that. So people have also gone to court over that issue in the past, and you never can say what they would dig up right now. The issue around anti-corruption, or the two of them. In fact, somebody regarded the two of them as ancestors. That these people are old people who should give way for the younger generation. So, but again, like I said earlier, both of them knew they have to put everything in their arsenal on this,
to address those.
because this perhaps is their last chance to see their possible ruling
realization of their aspiration.
Their aspiration. We know that Atiku Abubakar has been contesting since 1992. This is about his 6th time running. Asiwaju, this is his 1st time, but he has run for other offices and at sub-national level in the past. So, by and large, again, it comes to issue of politicking and intrigues. It's a game of intrigues and also distractions from the real issue. And Nigerians will definitely get to ask those
fundamental questions.
Because this one is just a press interview.
Yeah, Mr. Ibe has told us
press interview,
kind of
press interview is different from when you go for debate. There will still be opportunity to go for debate. There will be time for campaigns. There will be time for rallies. There will be time for even to appear on different radio and TV where people will phone
ask questions,
and ask questions. So that could be reserved to the, but right now there is no legal order to the, irrespective of certain reservations, some of us or anybody out there may have. They have emerged as standard bearers of their party.
Right. I have to give Mr. Paul Ibe's reaction to this. Whether your camp is actually concerned about these fundamental issues that are, that are yet to be addressed, that Nigerians are waiting to hear your principals talk about, the issues I mentioned earlier. They are part of the things, people, the perception of Nigerians, and of course, what they are expecting to hear from your principals. Are you bothered about some of these challenges?
The perceptions that you're talking about were nurtured, sustained, created by the media.
By the media? Are they not realities?
The Waziri had alluded to that, in his interview. I mean, what reality? I mean, the man has told you as far back as in 2017, if anybody has anything against him, we all know the road to the EFCC or the ICPC. You take the matter there and to be dealt with. I mean, it's not enough to keep, ranting about corruption and corruption and corruption. It's the media, and we knew what happened. It was politically motivated. It was based on the disagreement that he had when he was vice president. That was what, brought up the issue of, corruption or no corruption.
Okay, let's get Shehu Atta as we round up to give us perhaps his last line. Shehu, if you are there, the other, key contenders, presidential candidates are taking advantage of one of the segments of the voting population, talking about the youths now. Virtually everyone is engaging the youths, engaging the social media platforms, to reach out. But it appears your principal hasn't been taking serious advantage of the social media and then also neglecting this segment of the. Wouldn't that be, a minus with regards to his trying to reach out?
Sagib, I think you have not. I will say that you've not been following our activities. I would say that we actually lays the precedents that other contestants are following. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and his followers were the first to introduce what we call Tinubu School to School. Tinubu School to School is an idea that comes up that are the youths. And failure of governance over time is as a result of the leader not being properly connected with the led. And the largest demography in the country are the youth. And where can we get the youth? In high institutions. I'm talking about the university, the polytechnic, the Federal College of Education, and the training institutes. So these are the places we will get the youth, and that is where we started our advocacy for the Asiwaju candidacy over 2 years ago from.
Okay, thank you very much, Shehu, and we really appreciate your perspectives. Perhaps this will be for you. But before we round up, we'll also get a last line from Mr. Jide Ojo. Well, everyone is concerned that beyond, the altercations and the personality clashes, these candidates, should be able to talk to Nigerians or should be able to address fundamental issues of governance, the level of insecurity in the country, the economy, which is dwindling, a number of issues that have been plaguing Nigerian state. What's your advice to them? Or how do you think they can change the direction of this, conversation, to the issues?
In fairness to Atiku Abubakar, I followed his trajectory over the years. He seems most prepared for governance. And I believe in 2019 he already has a blueprint. Maybe that blueprint will be updated to be in tandem with current reality. So I know he's a man that is given to research, and he possibly has a research, a think tank team.
Because you have a team
in place. But I also believe that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu may be doing something like that. They will all have opportunity. Let me tell you, Shafiu, this electoral 2022, something unique that's happening under it is that unlike previous elections where campaigns hold for 90 days, now it's 150 days.
So you have enough.
So 5 months of campaigns. In that there will be rallies. In that there will be debates at different levels. I know your organization, Media Trust, is also packaging one, and there will be several other debates from either private organization, public, media, civil society. So they will have to ask those very probing questions at that level. But right now, what they are doing is testing waters and trying to take a jab at each other. This is more like, you know, preseason. You know, in football, they talk about preseason, Arsenal, Chelsea, okay. You know, Bayern Munich, and all of that.
Okay, Mr. Paul Ibe, how prepared are you? Very quickly, in 30 seconds, prepared, you know, to take up this challenge and then looking at the rigorous, you know, campaign exercise that will commence, I think, from September or so.
Yeah. From September.
No, I mean, he had spoken to the issue. I mean, the stage we are now is review. Atiku has always been prepared, ready to go. The 2019 policy document is being upgraded.
So it's in the public. Yeah.
What we have right now that he's playing with is the nuggets, you know, the abridged version, you know, from that, and you know, he's been speaking to those, you know, to those issues, you know, in areas of security, the economy, you know, education. You know, when he had the power collapse, he used that as an opportunity, you know, to say, you know, the things. He spoke about the $20 billion. You know, dollar, you know, idea.
Even though some said, you know, they're also part of the problem that brought us here.
Well, if you are part of the problem, then you also have made yourself available to be part of the solution.
All right.
You know, I don't think it's not, you know, it is right to say that an individual is part of the. We are willingly and unwillingly
procuring the
we have brought ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much.
We are elected to, you know, to choose an administration that has brought us to where we are today.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen.
So let us know that you are responsible for what you know, people like you know, elected to impose on, you know, on
we're
us.
actually here to speak the minds of Nigerians. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Ibe and Jide Ojo, and of course to Shehu Acha for your perspectives on the program tonight. On behalf of the guests and the technical crew, my name is Shafiu Salaman. Thank you for staying with us.